LGBT conservatives and independents exist.
Ooh, is this gonna be like a Clayton Bigsby skit? I loved that bit.
And we have to have a second coming out since everyone thinks we're all leftists.
Oh no, this isn't satire, is it? Now, normally I wouldn't be out here straight white mansplaining shit to minorities, but y'all did force us to live in Trump's America, and you know how the old saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Roman saluters do, I guess. I don't know. Look, all I'm saying is why not take advantage of some of the privileges Trump's America has bestowed upon the pale, rhythmless, and fashion-challenged. So here we go.
We aren't all white.
We know, and that's bad, right? Like, you see how that's bad, right?
Some of us are religious or spiritual.
What? Whoa, hold up just a second there. A religious conservative? No fucking way.
Most of us just want smaller government and less overarching control.
Okay, you know, that makes sense. I'll give you that. You want less control in the government, so you're voting for the party that just only wants to control, you know, like, who you can marry, right? And how you identify, and what pronouns you're allowed to use, and whether or not your existence is allowed to be talked about or acknowledged at all in schools, and what bathrooms you can use, and what sports you can play, and if you're allowed to be in the military, or if you're allowed to read to children, or if you're allowed to read, period, or what medical care and procedures you're allowed to have access to, or what jobs you're allowed to be hired for. You know, on second thought, could you provide us with a list of the things you don't want the government to control? Because the people you're voting for seem like they want to control a lot of shit. Like a lot of really random shit that doesn't affect them at all, but affects you a lot. And not to overstate the obvious to anybody who's ever, you know, passed a history class, but the whole point of right-wing ideology is authoritarian government control. Like, the term right-wing and left-wing in politics came after the French Revolution, and when they were trying to figure out government structure, the people who were like pro-revolution and having a more representative democracy sat on the left side of the room, and the people who were pro a monarchy or a king who had supreme power sat on the right. So the right-wing people were the conservatives because they wanted to conserve the old way of doing shit, which was having a king. It was always just about conserving government control over its people. The entire ultimate goal of right-wing conservative ideology is fascism. So that's why the people who are conservative right-wingers in our country are called fascists, because you guys are, you know, fucking fascists. So it seems weird that you don't want government control while, you know, actively voting for fucking fascists.
We are more accepting than you're told to believe.
Told? Honey bunny, we're just going by the shit your people say, like out loud.
Makes me sick every time I see it when I pass a church that flies that rainbow flag, which is a direct spit in the face to God Almighty. If this nation does not stop it, this nation is going to be in trouble.
I mean,
we're a Republican state, supermajority in the House and Senate. I represent a constituency that doesn't want that filth in Oklahoma. You know, we are a religious state. We are going to fight to keep that filth out of the state of Oklahoma.
Let me just put this out there for the Republican senators. If you vote in favor of the idea that society has an obligation to recognize male-male or female-female dyads in the same way that society has an obligation to recognize male-female, you should not be in the Republican Party.
I don't know about y'all, but that shit don't sound super accepting.
We are just as diverse as straight conservatives when it comes to issues like gay marriage, foreign policy, and abortion.
So, like, not at all? Have you met straight white conservatives? They have one collective opinion about all of that shit. Seriously, hating gay marriage, abortion, and anything foreign, including policy, is like their only platform and opinions. That's the whole reason they're conservative, is because they love hating everything that's not straight white and suffering from male pattern baldness.
We don't make being gay or trans our entire personality.
Obviously. I mean, if you were doing that, you couldn't make orange gelatin Jim Jones your entire personality. But for the record, if you are going to choose just one thing to be, you know, your entire personality, could you make it gay or trans? Because that would be way less fucking insufferable.
We are brave and we stand for what we believe in.
Oppressing your own community in hopes that the patriarchy will pick you? Okay, if that's what you're into, I guess.
We aren't triggered by wrong pronouns or gay jokes.
Dude, what? Like, the only thing Republicans talk about is how mad pronouns make them. Being triggered about pronouns is literally 78% of Republicans' entire identity. It's just like, that's why they're so happy about ending DEI and wokeness, so they don't have to learn fucking grammar.
They can get lonely at times. Sometimes being a trans conservative makes you hated by both sides.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like how Stefan was hated by both Django and Calvin Candy. I do have to say, though, like, all the statements made in this very silly video, your statement is by far the dumbest and the saddest. Because you're like acknowledging that being a trans conservative makes you hated by both sides. And that's a level of self-awareness most of these morons haven't achieved, because they're just trying to trick themselves into believing that, you know, conservatives don't hate gay people or trans people or other members of the LGBTQ community or minorities or, you know, literally anybody who doesn't look like me. Then you just stopped there and you didn't take that question the next step further and ask, what are the specific reasons why each side hates me? Because people on the left hate you for your hypocritical political ideologies that involve harming and oppressing at-risk communities. They hate you for decisions you've chosen to make and ideologies you choose to hold. But why does the other side hate you? You know, the side that you choose to belong to. Are you getting there? Do you need a little help? They hate you because of who you are as a fucking person, and that is why the other side hates you, because you align yourselves with people who hate you for who you are and hate the other people in your community for who they are. So why would anybody give a shit if you're fucking lonely? Because your loneliness is a fucking choice. You choose to be lonely and associate with a group who wants absolutely nothing to do with you except to see your entire existence extinguished from the face of the planet, and you do that. You make that choice at the expense of a community that would love and accept you. But did it ever fucking occur to you that maybe if the people you choose to associate with hate you, you could choose to not fucking associate with them?
We aren't pick-me's or grifters just because we have a different opinion.
You're right, you're pick-me's and grifters because you're desperately trying to get the attention, admiration, and acceptance of people who fucking hate you.
And saying that we are is actual homophobia.
No. It's not.
Most non-LGBT conservatives or independent thinkers are pro-LGBT.
No, they're not.
And pro-transitioned rational adults.
It's okay if I call you Chris, right? Dead naming's okay now. That's what we all decided when you voted this way, right? So Mr. Crocker, also Chris Crocker, why didn't you go with Betty when you transitioned? Like, that would have been fun. You know, if you would have went from Chris to Betty and then you could have been Betty Crocker. Never mind. You are famous for hiding under a sheet and having a mental breakdown about Britney Spears and then putting it on the internet. And then you grew up to transition into a woman and a Trump supporter. I guess what I'm getting at is when people picture a rational adult, you're not exactly, you know, what comes to mind.
Our sexual orientations or gender identities don't correlate or dictate our political or social ideologies.
But they do, or, you know, at least they should. Because your right to exist and express yourself as the person you are, and other people to do that as well, is completely tied to your political and social ideologies and the policies that you vote to institute. So you don't get to separate them. That's not a choice you get to make. Just like the choices you made and the way you voted to take away privileges that you had from LGBTQ kids and people all over the country now who don't have the choice to express who they are in their workplace, in their homes, and their schools. So you don't get to separate that choice from who you are. Because our politics are who we are as people. And your bad politics make all of you bad people.